Welcome back to XRAY in the morning. I'm here with my friend Hannah. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, Kira.
How's it going?
Good. Ready to blast through some news?
Yeah, I am. Except for I really quickly need to point out that it was very interesting that just now talking to Tom Squitieri from Talk Media News, that he didn't hear your question about Area 51.
Oh, I know.
Not that that's no comment on Tom Squitieri himself, but to comment on.
They're
The
listening.
aliens are always listening, number one. And number two, they're scrambling your signal. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
I mean, radio was the first waves into space, I believe. I'm making that up.
Communication into space. Yeah, sure. It's somewhere they're listening to us talk.
I really hope we get that picture, though.
Me too, about Area 51.
Yeah, that's the hard-hitting news I need to hear from the Pentagon.
Right? I'm with you. Well, should we talk about more national news?
Yeah, let's get in there. Jeff Bezos has been on people's minds.
Sure.
He accuses the National Enquirer of extortion.
Dun, dun, dun.
On Thursday, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos said in a blog post that the National Enquirer had threatened to publish nude photos of him and Lauren Sanchez, a journalist with whom he allegedly had an affair. In January, the Enquirer broke the story on the affair. On the same day, Bezos announced he would be splitting from his wife of 25 years. Bezos posted yesterday on Medium.com claiming that American Media Inc., the publisher of National Enquirer, was attempting to blackmail him by threatening to release the more revealing photos of himself and Sanchez if he did not comply with their efforts to distance themselves from Donald Trump. Instead, Bezos himself published what he says is an email he received from AMI executive Dylan Howard, which describes the couple's intimate photos in detail. Rather than bend to Howard's threats, Bezos chose to admit to the existence of the photos himself, saying he would prefer to, quote, stand up, roll this log over, and see what crawls out. Bezos claims that AMI executive asked him to announce his belief that the Enquirer, when publishing its original expose on his affair with Sanchez, was not, quote, politically motivated or influenced by political forces. Bezos believes this in response to a suggestion made in the Washington Post, a newspaper he himself owns, that the Enquirer ran the affair story because of its long-standing relationship with Donald Trump, who has been known to attack Bezos. Until very recently, the Enquirer has been known to publish stories which are flattering to Trump and to squelch anti-Trump ideas. Bezos, Amazon CEO and richest man in the world, writes that the risk of his personal embarrassment takes a backseat to the more important matter of how, quote, if in my position I can't stand up to this kind of extortion, how many people can?
I love it. I think this is the absolute best sort of reaction to, I mean, truthfully, just put yourself out there. It's sort of like laughing at yourself, like when you're getting, if you're getting bullied, or if you're laughing at yourself, nobody can laugh at you. If you're putting all of your dirty laundry out for everyone to see, then nobody can use it against you.
Yeah. I mean, I think so scandals are juicy and interesting, but
Sure.
Really, how much do they, to me, I feel like how much does this really matter versus it's being like, it's just gossip?
Well, I think it matters because it is indicative of what's happening below the surface, both politically and in the media.
Yeah.
And it is also interesting, right? I mean, if I'm not sure why the Enquirer, I don't know in depth enough why the Enquirer is now trying to distance itself from Trump, because clearly it's always been very pro-Trump. I think it has something to do with
the impending doom
money
of the Trump administration.
That as well, yes. But it is interesting to see. I mean, right, because Trump's whole thing is that the crooked media, the dirty media, and here, I mean, I don't know. It's like so blaringly obvious, but it comes back to this whole, like, we're writing reality again. Hannah's dancing and I can't concentrate.
I mean, I do think
really good dance, though.
It is cool that he can at least use his position to be like, I'm not being blackmailed, and this is how things work behind the scenes.
Exactly.
So if people have money, they squash it, and you never hear about it, like somebody did. A lot of people do, or
right.
If, and it's politically motivated, so you're only going to hear about the ones that they have something to gain from, or something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, yes.
Something like that.
There's that as well.
Am I on the right track?
But it is also, just like on a larger sort of how we should be behaving as humans kind of scale. This is really something to be said for honesty. I mean, how many times have politicians or, celebrities, whatever, when news comes out, if they're just honest about it, I think this all the time. Like when people, they step down from positions because something incriminating came out about them. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't step down, but how different would the situation be if they just came out and said, hey, yeah, I did this thing. It wasn't great. I'm really sorry. I learned my lesson. I won't have an affair again, or, whatever it is that they're trying to hold Jeff Bezos to. How different would that be versus we all, run around paying money to people trying and bending to their whims because we don't want them to out these embarrassing things about us.
Yeah.
I know that us, as in that's happening to us right now.
I know.
And I was like, gotta step out of the booth real fast. By the way, I had a really great idea that we would do this whole news segment in like a Hudsucker Proxy voice, but then I realized I just couldn't keep it sustained for an hour.
Why don't you do it with the next?
Would you... Virginia black lawmakers call for probe into Fairfax allegations. That's as far as I can go. Sorry, this is a real story. My apologies. On Thursday, the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus called for a state investigation into the 2004 sexual assault allegation leveled against Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. This comes amid scandals involving 3 of Virginia's top Democratic officials. The lawmakers doubled down on their call for Democratic Governor Ralph Northam to resign over a racist photo in his 1984 medical school yearbook. But they stopped short of calling on Fairfax to do the same. They also did not ask Attorney General Mark Herring to resign. The lawmaker said that while they recognized Herring's candor in admitting to wearing blackface at the college party in 1980, they, quote, await further action on his part to reassure the citizens of the Commonwealth of his fitness for leadership. Well, that's an amazing example of what we were just talking about.
I was like, this ties right in. It's all about how are you going to accept accountability and show that you are a leader willing to have these hard conversations, at the time you can be completely aware that the time we live in now is different, and how can you have those conversations about that subject. I think that this also has I just think about the Oregon State, what they're going through with the harassment trainings, and we had talked about that before, and I brought it up too, where this is a perfect time to show how can you lead in something that's uncomfortable but needs to be discussed on a public forum. I mean, they're of course different in terms of the context, but
yeah, no, but you're exactly right, and I mean, this seems to be the era of, we're airing everyone's dirty laundry, and I honestly think it's a good thing. I really do. I mean, that's what this whole this whole era has been about. I mean, the silver lining of like all the insane political things that have been happening in the last 2 years is that we're just getting all of it out on the table and we're talking about it. Let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the bad. Let's sort it out and see where we want to be.
What's going on in Virginia? Is that
You want to try again? You gotta put more like like meh on it. No, it was good. It was really, we'll workshop on it afterwards. By the way, listeners, if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear what you think about, politicians and Jeff Bezos airing their dirty laundry. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Should they step down anyway?
Yeah. Do you rather have somebody who steps down and a new person come in that we don't know what's in their closet? Or would you rather have the person that you voted in try to work it out and struggle?
Yeah, good question.
Struggle with it.
Text us 971-220-5979. Should we move on to the next national news?
Yeah, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez released the Green New Deal outline. So yesterday, Representative Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey, a Democrat from Massachusetts, introduced a framework defining what they call a Green New Deal. They hope this will be a policy package that would rebuild the U.S. economy and eliminate all of the U.S.'s carbon emissions. Ocasio said of the deal, quote, even the solutions that we have considered big and bold are nowhere near the scale of the actual problem that climate change presents to us. In broad terms, these goals include drastic measures to cut carbon emissions and boost the economy by creating jobs. The bill calls for 10-year national mobilization efforts towards accomplishing a series of goals laid out in the resolution. That includes, quote, meeting 100% of the power demand in the U.S. through clean, renewable, and zero-emission energy sources.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of the other goals in this framework include upgrading all existing buildings for energy efficiency, working with farmers to eliminate pollution and greenhouse gas emission as much as in technologically feasible, overhauling transportation systems to reduce emissions, and high-quality health care for all Americans. She's so awesome.
Yeah. So none of this is new. I mean, not that it's not news. It's just not new news.
Okay.
But I'm really impressed. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I mean, she really has the spotlight right now. And I feel like she could use her like 15 minutes of fame to...
It's not 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, well, okay, right. But I mean, like, I'm just saying she has headlines right now.
She's like, I'm talking about this. This is what we need to do. And I'm being huge. I'm being bold. I'm asking for everything I want.
I love it. And, it's one of those things that, like, you could use your time in the spotlight. That's. I'm sorry, she'll be famous forever. But her moment in the spotlight, to talk about anything. And I also feel like a lot of politicians, in order to maybe cater to both sides, we talk about energy renewal and global warming and cleaning up the environment. It tends to get talked about in this very sort of glossed over, like, we really need to do something about the environment. We should drive less. You know what I mean? Because there are just so many people that don't want to hear that. And I love that she is just being so upfront about the fact that this is like a dire situation.
Yeah.
Like, we do not have time to mess around with like, oh, maybe we should like, take the bus once a week or whatever. I mean,
she's like, we're taking drastic actions. Right. We're going to change and we got to do it fast.
Right. And
this might not even be enough to alter what we need. So we're moving this forward and we have the movement. I do appreciate the scope that the New Green Deal.
I think Green New Deal.
Green New Deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's big and it's bold and it moves conversations. So
yeah, it does. And I would say that there are lots of people that have been ready for big and bold, and we have just been waiting for big and bold, but like in a direction that's actually going to do some good.
Yeah, and even just thinking about this is coming up before the primaries, because a lot of people say you can't win a platform if climate change is what you talk about, but maybe this gives some climate change a sexy platform.
I'm gonna have to mull on that for a little while.
At least it's something that it's like it's exciting. It's like, okay, this is big. We're talking about climate change in a different way, and so that it can be a part of the debate. It's like we don't always have to debate about abortion.
Right. And I think
can we talk about other things?
It's not that, because I feel like the two things that are going to make you electable are either that you are like very fear mongering and you're, and immigrants are coming for us and, whatever, or you have this message of hope and change. And I think, and for like the reason that most politicians don't bring up climate change is because it's this giant looming problem that seems completely unmanageable, right? So to just bring it up and be like, the ice caps are melting and we need to do something about it.
It gives it a way to be like, there's energy behind, we're doing this, we're taking it on.
Here's a solution rather than a problem.
It's not the Al Gore climate change.
Right. But that was necessary for its time. I think there wasn't enough alarm about climate change until this whole movement.
But it was Al Gore.
It was,
and I liked him.
The movement as an entity, not necessarily as Al Gore's movement. That was real. I actually went to a talk. It was the Environmental Educators Conference that I went to in California probably like 10 years ago. And Al Gore there were like certain people that were trained, and there were only like, 10 or 20 of them in the world that were like trained by Al Gore to give talks on the, what was that movie called? Inconvenient Truth.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember it was so like, he gave his whole talk, and it was so dire, and the bears, the polar bears are going to die, and the rainforests are going to.
They showed.
Yeah, it was so intense. And I remember afterwards, sort of like raising my hand and being like, okay, so like. So now what? Like, how do we adapt? How do we whatever? But that was just like not. But he was like not prepared for that question. He was like, we need to take action, and I was like, well, what action? So anyway, the point being that now that's where we are with the Green New Deal. We've finally got a plan. We're going to take some action. So, should we talk about Attorney General Matt Whitaker?
If you want.
I guess. Attorney General Matt Whitaker will testify before the House Judiciary Committee today. The announcement came from the committee chairman, Jerry Nadler, late Thursday evening, ending a standoff with Democrats after Whitaker threatened not to appear unless he received assurances that he will not be served a subpoena for invoking executive privilege. The committee voted along party lines Thursday to preemptively subpoena Whitaker if he refuses to answer questions. He is, by the way, they want him to answer questions about how much information President Trump has regarding the Russia probe and the all the millions of dollars that went to his inaugural. They don't know where any of that money went for his inauguration committee. The fear being that Whitaker, who was appointed by Trump, may have given information to Trump that he should not have about these investigations. The Justice Department's head of legislative affairs, Stephen Boyd, said that unless the committee promised by 6 p.m. on Thursday not to subpoena Whitaker, he would not attend the hearing. God, this is like toddlers. Nadler said that the idea that a witness could refuse to answer a question based on, quote, speculation that the president might want to assert executive privilege is, quote, ridiculous. Whitaker is expected to face questions over his decision not to recuse himself from overseeing the Mueller investigation. Yes. Why didn't he recuse himself for overseeing the Mueller investigation? I wonder.
I mean,
it was sarcasm, Hannah.
Well,
she just pushed her glasses up her nose. Well,
yeah. I mean, this will be interesting. Watch as it unfolds today. He potentially could have already. No, it's not that. We're still early, folks. He hasn't spoken yet. I mean, it's just really interesting that even Whitaker himself was not confirmed by the Senate. So there's so much controversy around him going in already. Like, Can he even do his job? Because there's so many questions.
Right. Yes.
And
it's very interesting I mean, you could imagine, like, put yourself in the position of, I'm being investigated for this thing that I did wrong. I think I'll appoint my own investigator.
Yeah.
It's like, it's absurd.
It'll all come tumbling down.
Yeah. Here's hoping.
Yeah.
It will. I can feel the Jenga blocks starting to shift, which is a good feeling.
Another thing on the national news. Sorry.
Were you Australian there?
No, I was a newsie.
You were?
Sorry.
Can you do the whole story like that?
No, I shouldn't have done that to you in the first place.
I think we should let's take a break. We'll work on our accents.
I have to think about
and when we come back, we'll be entirely, I can do a BBC accent. And
yeah.
You can do like a...
Their way, it's not ours.
Oh man, it's going to be good. You should definitely stick around for this. We'll be right back.